Hello people, I hope you're well. We have just finished this exact session at the coach, and I thought I'd just basically do a different vlog where I basically just sit down, lay out my thoughts, run through the session, and yeah, it'll be a very raw vlog. It's kind of how I like to do things. I was going to do it like mic'd up, but every time I do a mic'd up session, as it were, YouTube copyrights the crap out of me. So yeah, I'm basically just going to do it like this. So I hope you don't mind. Now, first movement of the day, we have this absolutely awesome Cybex machine in the coach at the minute. One thing that I really like about this gym, obviously, like I do have like a commercial gym membership, and I also have this membership where it's basically like Cybex Mecca, right? One thing that I really like about this gym is they're just consistently investing in different equipment and better equipment, and ultimately providing a very good service for their members, and it's something that I highly respect. In terms of like me as a coach and me as like a business, I will continually try and be better, try and learn new things, and try and do this and this and this, right? To always kind of master my art. Now, in the sake of a gym, all they can really do is continually try and invest into the gym to make it ultimately the best service possible, which they're doing, which is absolutely fantastic. I can totally respect that. But first movement is a lat pull down. Now with this Cybex kind of the cable system, it does have like the kind of chest supported, I'm not too sure what you'd call it, almost like the boxer punch thing, you know. But you can do like lat pull downs at this angle that you're seeing now. And ultimately it's just putting my lat into a very kind of comfortable and really kind of assertive position. Now you've got to think at the stretch position, it's going to be at its strongest, and at the weakest at the kind of shortest is going to be at the weakest. Now, being at this angle is really favourable for the lat, because again, we've got the stretch, which is right here, and we have a very comfortable kind of end range. Normally, like with a lat pull down, it's in a kind of a really weird position when you're in the shortened range, the weakest range. I am going to do that afterwards, but essentially most of my kind of lat volume, this kind of mesocycle, is in the form of kind of something like this, in the form of like a D-handled variation. So we do that for 2 sets, and that's going to be in an 8 to 12 rep range. We then move on to kind of the prime handle, more kind of bro lat pull down. What we want to make sure on here is you're kind of over the lat, kind of what do you call it, like the cable, right? If you're kind of too far back, which typically people do, you'll kind of turn it into, and you'll see what I can turn it into, because I'm about to do something that looks very similar to a lat pull down, but it's not, but it's going to target different muscle groups. But essentially with the lat pull down, you want to make sure it's a lat pull down. You don't want to make sure or have it as like a rear delt row or a rear delt, yeah, I suppose it would be a rear delt row, or like an upper back movement. If you like pull back like this, like you got to think that it's just going to hit like trap, rhomboids, and kind of all that good stuff at the kind of upper back, right? And it's not really going to hit the lat. So we just do 1 set here. Then we're moving on to a horizontal row. Again, one really kind of cool thing about this gym is they've just got such an array of different equipment to try, and everything is really targeted to where I want it to go. So essentially the first 2 movements are going to be lat focused, and this is going to be like upper back, rhomboid. There is going to be lats involved as well. Typically anything that's going to kind of come back and down is going to be lat focused. If you kind of come up, it's going to be like upper back. Anything down is obviously lat, and then low lat is going to be kind of elbows dragged down. But you are going to get kind of upper back signaling here as well. So we're going to do 1 loading set here in a 7 to 10 rep range, and then we're going to do a back off set, which you're going to see in a minute. So you'll see me here as well put my feet up on the pad. Now you might find with something like a machine row, so I'm going to put my foot up here, you might actually find with a machine row, like you kind of get like sucker punch right here. You can't breathe, you're just kind of repping like this, but it's like it's really taking your breath away. If you like elevate your feet, if you get like a step, it will actually put your kind of your whole chest, it kind of pops it up, and when it gets popped up, that means you can breathe a lot more effectively and efficiently, which is exactly what I'm doing here. Kind of looks a bit weird, but essentially just try it if you ever get really, really gassed out and your kind of CV, your cardiovascular system is getting tapped out before your back, then that's kind of a real problem. But essentially, like, all the kind of exercises that I'm selecting here are all very much kind of directed at kind of, they're not really using momentum, they're kind of really well braced. Now here is what I was talking about. I'm turning this kind of lat pull down. I'm arching back and I'm turning it into a rear delt row, upper back row. You can see this here, what it's targeting. My lats are moving. It would be weird if it's not moving, it's not being targeted. But essentially my rear delts and my traps are being worked here. This would be called like a high row. But essentially what people do when they do a lat pull down, especially heavy, they'll kind of just swing. And then they'll get exactly this. And again, like, I'm a little bit kind of cut, so you can really see what muscle is working. So yeah, ultimately this is a big difference between my fat loss phases as well, is that I'm really focusing on the muscle groups that I'm hitting, number one. And also the kind of bracing element. Like even here on the rear delt fly, which by the way I'm supersetting, I'm doing a high row in a 8 to 12 rep range, and then I'm going to do a rear delt fly, again being braced just on the head. You can imagine, like, if I didn't have that, then at the bottom I'm kind of like swinging, and that's going to kind of attack the lumbar. These little nooks and crannies you'll find, like if you've been lifting for a while, these little kind of nuances and just making sure that you're braced on every movement make no end of difference. And you got to think, like, if you're swinging the whole time, if you're using different muscle groups, then you are taxing other muscle groups, which is fine. But if you really want to maximize kind of hypertrophy in the muscle group that you are working, you kind of want to be somewhat braced, right? There are some movements as well that you don't necessarily have to be braced for. For something like a bent over row, has a really kind of high raw stimulus magnitude, and it's going to attack the lumbar. But for me, it's just not that efficient and effective, just because I've got a weak lower back. But for me, I get too much swing, which means it taps into my lower back, which means I get injured, right? And that ultimately means I can't work the muscle groups that I'm intending to kind of work. Now, again, this is like a big difference between this cut and the last cut, is that I ran, again, these like little nooks and crannies, but I ran 16 weeks of a cut, very aggressive cut, almost like plus 2%. I think at some points I was going like 4% rate of loss per week, so very, very quick. And I was doing like rack pulls, again, no deloads, no nothing. So you got to think how aggressive I was and how assertive I was, and too assertive. But you got to think that every single time you do something and every single year you should be kind of progressing in knowledge, right? And ultimately the best learning experience you'll ever get is when you fuck up. It just always is. Now for this prep, again, I spoke about in the last vlog, I've had that mentality of I need to beat the sheet and not retain numbers, and that's something that I did in the last kind of the fat loss phase, is that I was picking movements that weren't braced, I was picking movements that just weren't appropriate for me and my goal, and also, being very, very assertive.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, it's because I wasn't speaking to you, Siri. But I was, just being very, or too assertive in terms of fat loss, and that really kind of screwed me up because I was going to say another point, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. But yeah. Oh, and also it's allowed me this time to be a lot more leaner. Like I was lean last time. I was probably like this lean, but you got to think I've got 3 weeks left. Like you got to think, and also like, if you're running like a 4% rate of loss every single week, you got to think how psychologically demanding that is. Like even stepping to the gym was hard, very hard. This time it's kind of like I'm here, and I'm here with this intact. Like I probably couldn't even speak to a camera last time. I was that kind of flawed. So that's kind of the beauty of like the evidence-based, half bro, half evidence-based side of me, that is we're selecting movements with kind of better SFRs, etc. And we're being able to dig a lot better and more appropriate for me to get ultimately in the best shape possible, because we're using like experience of fuck-ups to kind of just get better and better. So we did the high kind of the high delt row, as it were. We did that as a superset into rear delt row. That was 2 sets. We then did bicep curls, very incline bicep curls. I was actually meant to do it on Cybex, but someone was on there. And again, your body doesn't know the difference between a Cybex curl and potentially like a dumbbell. But these kind of dumbbells are really thick, so they just attack my bicep no end. So it's very, very cool. So that's in an incline position. We do 2 sets of that. To be honest, the rep range is AMRAP, as many reps as possible. I tend to find with biceps, it's kind of like anywhere in a high rep range is fine. I will track it, but essentially, like, as long as I'm providing adequate kind of volume, intensity, accuracy and stuff, I tend to be cool. And then we go into kind of a spider curl variation. It's not necessarily a spider curl, but you can almost call it that. And these are going to be performed in a Maya rep. Typically with my biceps, they just react very, very well to kind of high rep, high volume work within a set. So things like, again, AMRAP sets, things like drop sets, and things like Maya reps are absolutely fantastic for me. So you might want to try that. That's definitely contributed to a lot of arm growth, alongside, again, exercise selection and just kind of bracing as a whole. Because even here, look, like I'm braced. Even in the other one, in the other exercise, I was somewhat braced as well. And then this is going to kind of conclude the session. And as you can see, like, I'm getting like striations in my kind of delts, which is a good sign for me that I'm nearly there. But we tag this on the end of pull just to get a bit more delt volume, to be honest. Delts are one of these ones that you can really attack every single session, really. We don't, but you can. It's a very small muscle group. Again, we hit the high delt row, which is rear delts, and then obviously this as well. So it's kind of like a pull day so it's like back, whole back, it's arms, and it's delts. And this is the current physique. This is how we're looking 3 weeks out. Again, feel great. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm very impressed with my back this year. Incredibly impressed, considering how poor it was like 2 years ago. Again, I'm very happy with the package that we've brought. Ultimately, I'm probably not going to beat anyone. Like, if I play somewhere, I'll be happy. But to be honest, like, I'm so fucking happy with how I look this year. It's evidently the best I've ever looked. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the start of this vlog. Hope you took something away. And I will see you in the next vlog. Peace, love, like, share, subscribe. Peace.